The cold steel walls of the briefing room hummed faintly with the buzz of overhead fluorescent lights. A low murmur filled the air as 300 Navy SEALs, the best of the best, filtered inside, their faces stoic but minds alert. Each man and woman had earned their place through relentless training, iron discipline, and countless missions that pushed the limits of human endurance. Tonight, they were gathered for one of the most dangerous assignments of their careers. Lieutenant Commander Harper stood at the front, her sharp eyes scanning the assembled troops. Though only 28, she carried the quiet confidence of someone who had seen war up close and lived to tell the tale. Her reputation as an unmatched sniper had spread through the ranks, earning her both respect and a hint of awe. Tonight, she wasn't just an observer. She was part of this mission. The room fell silent as Commander Reynolds, a grizzled veteran with decades of experience etched into his weathered face, stepped forward. His voice cut through the stillness with calm authority. "Good evening, team," he began. "You all know what you're here for. Operation Dark Horizon is unlike any mission we've attempted. Our objective: infiltrate deep into hostile territory. Disrupt a high-value enemy network responsible for recent attacks against our forces and civilians." He paused, letting the weight of the words settle. "This operation will be swift, surgical, and without room for error. Intelligence confirms the enemy's command center is located in a dense forest region, heavily guarded and reinforced with sophisticated electronic surveillance. We will be dropped behind enemy lines under the cover of night. Stealth and precision are critical." Whispers rippled through the room. This was no ordinary raid. The enemy was formidable, and the terrain was treacherous. But the SEALs were unshaken. They had trained for scenarios like this their entire lives. Reynolds continued, "We expect heavy resistance. Communications may be compromised once deployed. Extraction will be risky. Your window to complete the mission and exfiltrate is tight. Every second counts. Failure is not an option." Harper's gaze shifted around the room, catching the eyes of several young SEALs whose faces betrayed a mix of excitement and tension. She felt it too, the adrenaline, the weight of responsibility, the silent promise to each other that they would return. Suddenly, the large screens behind Reynolds flickered to life, displaying satellite images of the target zone. The dense canopy of the forest stretched for miles, dotted with enemy outposts and patrol routes. A map highlighted insertion points, marked with glowing red dots. "Will be inserted via halo jump," Reynolds said, referring to the high-altitude, low-opening parachute technique that allowed covert entry. "Once on the ground, you will split into smaller units. The goal: disrupt enemy communications and neutralize command operatives. You'll have to navigate through hostile territory and rendezvous at Point Delta for extraction." He glanced down at the notes on the podium. "Intel suggests the enemy has sophisticated countermeasures, jamming signals, motion sensors, automated turrets. This is going to test every skill you've got." Harper's heart pounded as she imagined the mission unfolding. The meticulous planning, the countless hours spent training for this very moment. Yet beneath the layers of confidence, a flicker of doubt crept in, because this mission had something different. Something no plan could fully prepare them for. "Any questions?" Reynolds asked, his voice steady. A hand raised near the back. "What about backup? What's the plan if communications go dark?" A young SEAL inquired. Reynolds' eyes narrowed. "We hope it doesn't come to that. But if you lose contact, you're on your own. The extraction team can only come in if the area is secure. That means you need to hold position, survive, and complete the mission without support. We trust your training." Murmurs of acknowledgement filled the room. Harper swallowed hard. She knew that "on your own" meant no one was coming for you if things went sideways. It was a harsh reality for a mission this deep in enemy territory. The briefing wrapped up with a final reminder. Stay sharp. Watch each other's backs. Make every shot count. We cannot afford mistakes. As the SEALs filed out, gearing up with their weapons, communication devices, and night vision goggles, Harper lingered behind. Her mind was racing, not just with the mission details, but with a nagging sense that something wasn't right. The intelligence was solid, the plan was tight, but war was unpredictable. And tonight, she vowed, she would be ready for anything. Outside the briefing room, the air was crisp and still. The team assembled at the base's drop zone, engines humming as the aircraft awaited them. The world beyond the cockpit was silent, unaware of the impending storm. Harper checked her rifle one last time, a custom-built sniper rifle that had saved lives more times than she could count. The weight of it felt comforting in her hands. Around her, her fellow SEALs were equally focused, sharing nods and last-minute tactical checks. The aircraft door slid open, revealing the dark expanse below. One by one, they leapt into the night, the wind roaring past their faces as they plummeted toward the forest canopy far beneath. For Harper, this wasn't just another mission. It was a test of everything she believed in: loyalty, courage, and the unbreakable bond forged between warriors who refused to leave a single teammate behind. As the parachutes opened and the team landed silently among the trees, the mission was underway. But somewhere in the shadows, a hidden danger lurked. One that would soon turn the mission into a desperate fight for survival and reveal the true meaning of heroism. The forest swallowed them whole. One moment, they were aboard the aircraft, hurtling through the night sky. The next, they were ghosts among shadows, landing softly on the forest floor. The dense canopy above filtered moonlight into a fragmented silver haze, while the rich scent of earth and pine filled their senses. The 300 Navy SEALs moved like whispers through the undergrowth, disciplined, precise, and deadly. Lieutenant Commander Harper's boots barely made a sound as she crouched behind a thick trunk, scanning the darkness with a sniper's gaze. Every rustle, every flicker of movement was a potential threat. This was their domain, yet tonight it felt alien and hostile, more dangerous than any training ground. The initial insertion had gone smoothly. Halo jumps were routine for these warriors, and the team landed on target. But Harper could feel the tension rising like a storm, brewing just beneath the surface. The enemy was closer than expected, and every step forward demanded caution. Teams Alpha and Bravo advanced to the rendezvous point. The encrypted radio crackled softly in Harper's earpiece. Teams Charlie and Delta secured the perimeter. Harper was part of Team Bravo, tasked with moving swiftly toward the enemy's communication hub. Their objective was to plant explosive devices and disrupt signals, a surgical strike to blind the enemy's command chain. But the forest had other plans. Branches snapped underfoot. A distant shout, muffled but unmistakably hostile, shattered the eerie silence. The SEALs froze. Harper's heart hammered. They had walked right into an ambush. Contact northeast. The radio erupted with urgent voices. Suddenly, the trees around them exploded with gunfire. Tracer rounds sliced through the night, painting red streaks in the shadows. The enemy had them pinned down. Return fire. Move to cover, Harper shouted, pivoting to locate the source. The SEALs dropped into firing positions, their weapons blazing controlled bursts. The roar of gunfire echoed between the trunks as the firefight erupted with brutal intensity. The enemy, better prepared than expected, had anticipated their move. Harper's sniper rifle came alive, each shot precise and deadly. She took down 2 enemy sentries, creeping along the flank, then another who tried to outmaneuver their position. Her breathing slowed. Every breath timed to steady the rifle and hold perfect aim. Nearby, grenades exploded, sending dirt and debris flying. One of her teammates, a young SEAL named Martinez, yelled, "We're outnumbered. Request immediate support." "Copy that," came the response from the command channel. "Extraction team is monitoring, but the zone is too hot for immediate pickup." Harper clenched her jaw. The extraction was already compromised, just as Commander Reynolds had warned. "Hold the line," she barked. "We're not falling back." The forest became a chaotic battleground. Shadows darted among trees as enemy reinforcements poured in. The SEALs moved in perfect synchronicity, using cover and suppressing fire to keep the attackers at bay. But the enemy's numbers were overwhelming. Suddenly, Harper caught a glimpse of a figure, a sniper in the distance, mirroring her movements with deadly grace. Their eyes met through the scope for a split second, then the enemy sniper disappeared into the shadows. "Sniper on the hill!" Harper alerted the team. "Watch your angles!" The sniper's shots began picking off SEALs one by one, each bullet precise, each strike calculated. The enemy was prepared for their infiltration, and they were lethal. "Fall back to secondary position," Harper ordered. "We can't hold here." The SEALs withdrew under heavy fire, bounding from tree to tree until they found a small clearing. But it was a trap. Enemy forces blocked the exit routes. Harper's radio crackled urgently. "Command to all teams. Extraction compromised. You are on your own. Survive and hold position." Her stomach twisted. The reality was sinking in. They were abandoned, left behind enemy lines with no support. "Keep calm," Harper said, though her voice betrayed the tension. "We fight for each other. No one gets left behind." The SEALs regrouped, assessing casualties and reloading weapons. The wounded were stabilized, medics working under the cover of night. But the enemy pressed forward relentlessly. Hours blurred into an unending nightmare of firefights, stealth movements, and desperate survival. Harper moved through the darkness, guiding her squad with unwavering resolve. Suddenly, the radio hissed. A voice, faint but clear, broke through the static. "This is Lieutenant Harper," she responded. "Report." "Harper, this is command. We've lost most communications. Extraction is delayed indefinitely. Hold position and await further orders." "Copy that," she replied. "We're surrounded, but not broken." The forest echoed with the sound of distant artillery, the enemy intensifying their assault. Harper's mind raced. They needed a new plan. Staying put meant annihilation. Moving out meant walking into a killing field. "Teams, listen up," she whispered fiercely. "We're splitting into smaller groups. Use every advantage: terrain, stealth, firepower. We move at dawn." The SEALs nodded, their faces a mixture of exhaustion and fierce determination. As dawn approached, the enemy launched a final assault. Explosions tore through the trees. Harper's squad fought like demons, every bullet a lifeline. She covered her team with sniper fire, picking off threats with lethal precision. But amid the chaos, a new voice reached her ears, calm, confident, and resolute. "This is Lieutenant Harper," the voice said again, this time through an unfamiliar channel. "I'm moving in to assist. Hold tight." The hope kindled within her. Someone was coming. Someone who could change everything. The firestorm raged on, but Harper knew this fight was far from over, and survival would demand everything they had. The forest no longer felt like just terrain. It was a living trap, thick, suffocating, and merciless. Every step the 300 Navy SEALs took seemed to push them deeper into the jaws of the enemy. Lieutenant Commander Harper's breath was steady, but her heart pounded with the urgency of the situation. The enemy had them cornered. The initial firefight had drained ammunition and energy. They'd fought with everything they had, but the opposition was relentless, skilled, coordinated, and prepared for a fight that was becoming increasingly one-sided. The enemy forces had blocked all escape routes. What was once a calculated infiltration had transformed into a nightmarish ambush. The enemy's trap was expertly laid. Patrols moved in waves, setting up kill zones and choke points. Every time the SEALs tried to break through, they were met with withering fire. Harper crouched low behind a fallen log, signaling to her squad. The faces around her were grim but resolute. Wounded comrades lay silently beside the living. The smell of gunpowder mixed with sweat and fear. "Fall back to secondary positions," Harper commanded, voice low but firm. "Regroup and prepare for counterattack." The team moved like a well-oiled machine, suppressing enemy fire while retreating into defensible terrain. Yet the enemy's numbers were overwhelming. Reinforcements swarmed in from all sides. Dozens of fighters emerging from the dense forest, using guerrilla tactics honed over years of conflict. Harper's radio crackled with static and desperation. "Command to all teams. Retreat ordered immediately. Extraction impossible under current conditions. You are to evade, survive, and await reinforcements. Repeat, evade and survive." The weight of that message was crushing. Abandoned, cut off, alone, Harper swallowed hard. "We don't retreat blindly," she said, eyes scanning the tree line. "We move as one. No one is left behind." Around her, the men and women of the SEAL teams nodded, drawing strength from each other's presence. They were more than soldiers. They were family forged in fire. Suddenly, a sharp crack echoed through the trees. A sniper round ripped through the air, hitting a SEAL named Jensen in the shoulder. He dropped silently, pain flashing across his face. "Medic!" Harper called out, running to Jensen's side. The medic was already working, stabilizing the wound with practiced hands. Harper's gaze locked onto the tree line where the shot had come from. The sniper was still out there, unseen, deadly, and striking with lethal precision. "Enemy snipers picking us off," she warned the squad. "Stay low, move fast." Despite their training, panic whispered in the back of their minds. They were surrounded, communication was lost, and the extraction team was nowhere in sight. The forest was no longer a hunting ground. It had become a cage. The enemy pressed harder, using mortar fire and coordinated attacks to wear the SEALs down. Every moment was a fight for survival. Movement was deadly, but staying put meant being targets. Harper made a decision. "We split into smaller groups," she said, voice steady despite the chaos. "We confuse the enemy, make them think we're scattered. But our goal remains. Reach extraction point Charlie at first light." The teams dispersed through the forest, shadows melting into the night. Harper led her squad through narrow paths, avoiding patrols and booby traps. The forest floor was littered with broken branches, traps, and signs of the enemy's presence. Hours crawled by in nerve-wracking silence, broken only by whispered commands and the occasional distant gunfire. Each SEAL moved with purpose, alert to every sound. At one point, Harper's squad reached a small clearing. She motioned for everyone to halt and listen. Suddenly, a whisper came through the radio, distorted but unmistakable. "Harper, this is command. We've lost visual on your position. Reinforcements are en route, but delayed. Hold tight." The message was brief, but it was a lifeline. Harper's grip tightened on her rifle. "We hold this position for now," she said, scanning the horizon. But as the night deepened, the enemy's presence grew. Footsteps echoed, and shadows moved closer. The enemy had them pinned with no clear way out. Suddenly, flares erupted overhead, illuminating the forest in harsh red light. Enemy soldiers poured into the clearing, weapons raised and ready. "Prepare to engage," Harper shouted. The SEALs sprang into action, bullets tearing through the air as a fierce firefight broke out. Harper's sniper rifle barked out precise shots, each enemy falling before they could react. Despite the ferocity, the SEALs were being pushed back. One by one, their numbers thinned. Harper's mind raced. They needed a miracle, a way to turn the tide. Then, from the edge of the clearing, she spotted a figure moving silently, taking out enemies with cold precision. It was a woman, a lone sniper. Harper recognized her immediately, Lieutenant Harper. The fearless sniper's shots shattered the enemy's advance, picking off key targets and sowing confusion. Her presence turned panic into hope, covering fire. The sniper called out through the radio, "I'm with you. Let's move." With renewed vigor, the SEALs pushed forward, following the sniper through the treacherous forest. The enemy was reeling, their coordinated assault unraveling. The ambush had turned into a desperate fight, but now, with the sniper's help, the SEALs had a fighting chance. They pressed toward the extraction point, every step a battle. Exhausted but alive, they knew this was only the beginning. The world outside the dense forest seemed a distant memory. The 300 Navy SEALs were now prisoners of the shadows, trapped behind enemy lines, cut off from the support they desperately needed. The once formidable force was battered and weary. Days had stretched into an endless cycle of evasion, skirmishes, and grim determination to survive. Every sunrise brought new threats. Every sunset marked the toll of their ordeal. Lieutenant Commander Harper stood silently at the edge of a makeshift camp deep within the forest. The wounded were tended to with what little medical supplies remained, and the healthy shifted restlessly, muscles tight from exhaustion and stress. The radios had gone dark hours ago, swallowed by enemy jamming signals. No matter how hard they tried, no calls for help were answered. The extraction team was nowhere to be found. Harper's mind churned with grim realities. They were isolated, surrounded, and running low on food, water, and ammunition. "We need to conserve supplies," she said firmly during the hastily called briefing. "Ration what we have. Every bullet counts. We're in this for the long haul." Around her, the SEALs nodded, their faces marked by fatigue, but burning with resolve. One of the medics, Corporal Diaz, raised a pale hand. "We're running out of medical supplies, too. If this drags on, we're in trouble." Harper's jaw tightened. "We'll find a way." The forest's oppressive silence was punctuated by distant patrols and the calls and the ever-present hum of enemy drones scanning the area. Sleep was scarce. Paranoia thickened the air like fog. Nightmares haunted the troops, memories of firefights, fallen comrades, the feeling of being hunted. Harper walked among them, offering words of encouragement and steeling her own spirit against the darkness closing in. "We've been in worse spots," she told a group huddled by a fire. "This isn't over. Not by a long shot." But inside, she wondered how much longer they could hold on. The enemy had set up blockades along every likely route of escape. Even the smallest movement risked detection. Harper's team had to rely on stealth, moving only under the cover of darkness and sticking to the thickest foliage. Every night, they held their breath as patrols passed mere feet away, the weight of their presence a constant threat. One evening, as the team gathered for a whispered strategy session, a sharp crack echoed nearby. Instinctively, everyone dropped to the ground. "It's a sniper," Harper hissed, eyes scanning the dark tree line. For days, the sniper had been a ghost, a specter picking off isolated soldiers with surgical precision. Rumors spread among the troops about this mysterious figure. Some said she was a legend, others a myth. Harper knew better. She remembered the voice on the radio a few nights before, calm, confident, offering aid. The sniper was real, and Harper hoped she would return. Meanwhile, supplies were dwindling faster than expected. Water sources were scarce, and the rationed food barely sustained energy for the grueling pace. The physical strain was compounded by mental exhaustion. Fractures appeared in even the strongest minds. "Captain Harper," whispered Lieutenant Daniels, "how do we keep going when it feels like no one's coming for us?" Harper's eyes burned with fierce determination. "Because we have to. Because the moment we give up is the moment we lose everything." She paced the camp, resolving that they would not be forgotten. Then the unexpected happened. In the dead of night, a faint transmission broke through the radio static, the unmistakable crackle of voice. "This is Lieutenant Harper. I'm here. I'm coming." The camp stirred with hope. The sniper was back. Harper smiled, a spark of renewed strength lighting her eyes. "Prepare to move at first light," she ordered. "We're not staying here. We fight, we survive, and we find our way home." As the night deepened, the SEALs steeled themselves for what was to come. The forest was no longer just a prison. It was a battlefield for survival, and their story was far from over. "Would you like me to keep going with part 5? You said, continue right part. 5 in full, 1650 words. ChatGPT said, absolutely. Here's part 5. The sniper's arrival, expanded to about 1650 words. This part introduces the fearless female sniper in full force, showcasing her impact on the battle and raising hope for the stranded SEALs. Part 5. The sniper's arrival, expanded full version, approximately 1650 words. The first light of dawn cut through the dense canopy like a blade, casting long shadows over the battered camp. The 300 Navy SEALs had endured days of relentless pressure cut off, hungry and fighting for survival deep behind enemy lines. Lieutenant Commander Harper stood on a ridge overlooking the forest clearing, her sharp eyes scanning the horizon. The team was preparing to move. Stealth was their only ally now, and every second counted. Supplies were dangerously low, but giving up was never an option. Then, a subtle ripple of movement caught Harper's attention. Through the morning mist, a lone figure emerged from the trees, silent, confident, and deadly. It was the sniper. The woman moved like a shadow, dressed in dark tactical gear that blended seamlessly with the forest. Her face was obscured by a helmet and night vision goggles, but her posture radiated calm control. In her hands, she carried a custom sniper rifle, a weapon as precise as its master. Harper's heart quickened. The rumors had been true. The sniper was no myth. The woman approached the camp without hesitation. She stopped just short of the perimeter and raised a gloved hand in salute. "Lieutenant Commander Harper," she said in a voice both calm and commanding. "I'm Sergeant Morgan. I've been tracking your team." Harper stepped forward, nodding firmly. "Sergeant Morgan, we're glad you're here. We've been pinned down, cut off, and running low on supplies. We need to move and fast." Morgan's eyes narrowed as she surveyed the camp and the weary faces of the SEALs. "The enemy has doubled their patrols. They're expecting you to try something. We'll have to be smart. Hit them hard, create a distraction, and slip through." Harper studied her new ally carefully. There was a toughness in Morgan's eyes, a fire forged through years of combat. She knew this woman would be the difference between survival and annihilation. "We don't have the luxury of time," Harper said. "What's your plan?" Morgan glanced toward the enemy positions, hidden deep within the forest. "I'll take out their communications towers. Without their eyes and ears, they'll be blind and disorganized. That's when you move." Harper nodded. It was risky, but necessary. "We'll cover you." The team quickly organized. The wounded were loaded onto makeshift stretchers, and squads prepared to move out under Morgan's guidance. As they set off, Morgan slipped silently into the shadows, disappearing into the dense underbrush. Harper's team moved cautiously, aware that enemy patrols were lurking nearby. Every snap of a twig or rustle of leaves could mean discovery or worse. Hours later, Morgan's voice crackled through the radio. "Towers are in sight. I'm moving in." The SEALs waited anxiously, fingers twitching near triggers. Suddenly, explosions ripped through the forest as Morgan's precision shots and explosives tore down the enemy's communication infrastructure. The chaos was immediate. Enemy soldiers scrambled, shouting orders and trying to regain control, but their network was crippled. Taking advantage of the confusion, Harper led her teams in a swift, coordinated advance, cutting through the thinning enemy lines. Bullets zipped past, but Morgan's sniper fire kept the enemy pinned down, picking off key targets with surgical accuracy. The forest echoed with the sounds of battle, but the tide was turning. By midday, the SEALs had broken through the enemy's encirclement and were moving toward the extraction point. Exhausted but determined, the troops pressed on, buoyed by the arrival of their new ally and the hope she represented. As the sun dipped toward the horizon, Harper looked at Sergeant Morgan with gratitude. "You saved us today," she said quietly. Morgan nodded, a rare smile flickering across her face. "We're not done yet. This is just the beginning." Together, they led the SEALs through the final stretch of hostile territory, every step a fight, every breath a victory. The mission had been nearly lost, but with courage, skill, and an unbreakable will, they were fighting to write a new chapter, a story of survival, resilience, and the relentless spirit of those who refused to be forgotten. The forest around them was no longer just a battlefield. It was a gauntlet, a relentless trial pushing every SEAL to their limits. The successful sabotage of enemy communications had bought them precious time, but the road to extraction was long and treacherous. Lieutenant Commander Harper led her team with a mix of exhaustion and determination that only warriors forged in fire could summon. The once confident stride was now a calculated pace, every step measured, every breath controlled. Beside her, Sergeant Morgan moved like a phantom, eyes sharp and constantly scanning. The sniper's presence was a beacon of hope, yet Harper knew better than to trust hope alone. The journey was far from over. Their path led them through thick undergrowth and tangled vines, forcing slow, painful progress. Each night was colder, the forest more unforgiving. Hunger gnawed at their bellies, and dehydration threatened to sap their strength. The ration supplies, already scarce, were nearly gone. Corporal Diaz, the medic, worked tirelessly to patch wounds, tend to infections, and bolster the weary spirits of the troops. Every day brought new injuries, scrapes turned into infections, bruises into broken bones. But Diaz's resolve never wavered. "We're going to make it," she told the pale Private Lee, her hands steady despite her exhaustion. "We have to." Lee nodded weakly, eyes filled with a fragile hope. Harper caught the exchange and felt a pang of pride mixed with sorrow. These were the moments that defined them, not just the battles fought with weapons, but those fought within. The enemy was relentless, however. Patrols continued to stalk the edges of their path, forcing the SEALs into frequent skirmishes. Morgan's sniper skills proved vital, picking off enemy scouts before they could raise the alarm. Her calm under pressure inspired the entire team. One evening, as they huddled in a shallow cave for shelter, Harper and Morgan shared a rare moment of quiet. "You're amazing out there," Harper said, her voice low, almost vulnerable. Morgan shrugged, a faint smile touching her lips. "Someone has to be. I'm just doing my job." Harper studied her companion. "More than that. You saved lives today. All of us." Morgan's eyes softened, and for a moment the armor cracked. "We all do what we can," she said quietly. "This isn't just a mission, it's survival. For all of us." Their bond deepened as the days dragged on. Together, they strategized, fought, and led, blending experience with courage. But the forest was an unforgiving prison. Supplies dwindled dangerously, and morale wavered. During a desperate rationing meeting, Harper addressed the group. "We have to conserve. Water is critical. Food is scarce. We push on because we have no other choice." The troops nodded, faces etched with fatigue, but burning with resolve. Sleep was a luxury few could afford. Dreams were haunted by memories of lost comrades and the weight of the unknown. One night, as Harper stood watch, a rustle caught her attention. Her hand went instinctively to her weapon. Through the shadows emerged a figure, not an enemy, but a familiar face. "Reinforcements," the figure whispered. "Extraction is imminent." Harper's heart soared. The impossible was within reach. She hurried back to the camp, rallying the troops with the news. Hope surged through the exhausted ranks like wildfire. The final stretch would be the most dangerous. The enemy, sensing their desperation, intensified their efforts to capture or kill the remaining SEALs. Morgan and Harper led the advance, coordinating every movement with military precision. The forest seemed alive with danger each step a gamble. Finally, as dawn broke over the horizon, the sound of helicopters filled the air. The extraction team had arrived. One by one, the SEALs climbed aboard the choppers, battered but unbroken. Harper and Morgan were among the last to board, sharing a look that spoke volumes of survival, sacrifice, and an unshakable bond forged in the crucible of combat. As the helicopters lifted away from the forest, leaving the nightmare behind, Harper gazed back one last time. The mission had tested them beyond measure, but they had survived. And in their survival lay a story that would be told for generations, a story of courage, loyalty, and the relentless human spirit. The roar of the helicopters faded into the distance, leaving behind a scarred forest and 300 Navy SEALs, forever changed by the mission that had nearly claimed them all. The extraction was only the beginning. Now came the reckoning. Back on base, the SEALs were met with a mixture of relief, suspicion, and the harsh glare of military scrutiny. The Pentagon's top brass wanted answers. How had the team ended up stranded so deep behind enemy lines? Why had the extraction been delayed for so long? And most urgently, why had orders to retreat been ignored? Lieutenant Commander Harper's debriefing lasted hours, a tense exchange where every detail was dissected. The official records made it clear the mission was compromised, the enemy stronger and more prepared than expected. The order to retreat had been sent, but Harper and her men had made the decision to forget the orders and fight for survival instead. Some officers questioned the insubordination. Others recognized the impossible circumstances and Harper's unwavering leadership. But the controversy stirred deep in the ranks. Meanwhile, Sergeant Morgan's role in the mission was being hailed as heroic. Her precise sniper skills, sabotage of enemy communications, and fearless leadership in the darkest hours had saved lives and turned the tide. Yet, Morgan herself remained enigmatic. She declined interviews and praise, focusing instead on the welfare of her team. To her, survival was never about glory, it was about duty. But the emotional toll on the SEALs was undeniable. Many suffered from battle fatigue, PTSD, and the haunting memories of comrades lost in the jungle. The physical wounds healed, but scars remained. Harper visited the wounded in medical wards, offering quiet support. "I wish I could have done more," whispered a young SEAL, his voice fragile. Harper shook her head firmly. "You did more than enough. We all did. We survived. That's what matters." The mission also exposed fractures within the military command structure. Some saw Harper's defiance as a dangerous precedent. Others argued it was the only reason the SEALs had lived. In a classified meeting, senior officers debated whether to reprimand Harper or commend her. The decision would impact careers and morale. Amid the turmoil, Harper found an unexpected ally in Sergeant Morgan. The two women forged a partnership beyond the battlefield, united by experience and respect. Morgan confided in Harper during a quiet moment. "This mission changed everything," she said. "Not just for us, but for how we fight, how we lead." Harper nodded. "And for what we're willing to do when no one else will." Outside the military walls, the story captured public attention. News outlets ran headlines about the 300 SEALs abandoned behind enemy lines and the fearless female sniper who saved them all. The narrative of survival against impossible odds resonated deeply. But with fame came scrutiny. Morgan's anonymity was threatened by media speculation, and Harper faced questions about the chain of command. Both women navigated the delicate balance of honoring their mission while protecting their team's privacy and security. One evening, Harper stood alone, gazing at the night sky. She thought of the men and women who had fought beside her, their courage, sacrifice, and unbreakable spirit. The mission had tested every limit, but it had also revealed the strength of those who refused to be broken. As whispers of the ordeal grew into legend, Harper and Morgan prepared for the battles ahead, not just on the battlefield, but within the corridors of power and within themselves. The story of the 300 SEALs was far from over. It was a testament to survival, leadership, and the relentless fight for what is right, even when orders say otherwise. The mission had ended, but its reverberations echoed far beyond the battlefield. Lieutenant Commander Harper and Sergeant Morgan returned not just as survivors, but as symbols of courage, resilience, and defiance in the face of overwhelming odds. Their story, one of 300 SEALs left stranded behind enemy lines, defying orders to survive, would become a defining moment in military history. Months after their extraction, Harper sat in a hearing room surrounded by top military brass, government officials, and policymakers. The room was filled with tension as the leadership debated the fallout from the mission. At the center was the question: what lessons would be learned? The military had been forced to confront uncomfortable truths. Communication failures, inadequate contingency planning, and flawed command decisions had nearly cost hundreds of lives. But more than that, it was a story of leadership in crisis, of the decision to forget the orders when lives were on the line. Harper spoke calmly and with conviction. In war, situations change rapidly. Command must trust its leaders on the ground to make decisions based on real-time conditions. We saved lives because we adapted, because we refused to abandon each other. Her words resonated with many, inspiring a shift in military doctrine, one that emphasized centralized command and the empowerment of frontline leaders. Sergeant Morgan's role also shaped a new understanding of the critical importance of specialized skills like sniping and sabotage in modern warfare. Beyond policy, Harper and Morgan worked tirelessly to support the mental health of their team. PTSD and trauma were real and enduring, and the military began investing more resources in psychological care. For Harper, the journey was deeply personal. The burden of command, the weight of lives lost, and the glory tempered by the shadow of survival left scars that no medals could heal. But she found solace in the bonds forged in the crucible of combat, the friendships that transcended pain and fear. Morgan, once a ghost in the shadows, became a mentor to the next generation of soldiers, her story inspiring countless others to push beyond limits. Together, Harper and Morgan championed the voices of the unsung heroes, the medics, the support crews, the quiet warriors whose names would never make headlines. Their mission's legacy was more than survival. It was about honor, loyalty, and the unbreakable human spirit. Years later, a memorial was dedicated to the 300 SEALs, the men and women who had faced impossible odds and refused to yield. It stood as a testament to bravery, sacrifice, and the power of leadership. At the dedication, Harper spoke before a crowd of veterans, families, and dignitaries. "This memorial is not just stone and metal," she said, voice steady with emotion. "It is a reminder that when we face darkness, we find light in each other. That courage is not the absence of fear, but the will to carry on." Morgan stood beside her, silent but proud, a living embodiment of that courage. Their story would live on, not just in books or films, but in the hearts of those who fight for freedom. The mission had been a crucible, but it had forged something stronger, a legacy of honor that would inspire generations to come. And as Harper and Morgan looked to the future, they knew one thing for certain: the fight was never truly over. It was a lifelong commitment to service, sacrifice, and the relentless pursuit of what is right. Because true heroes don't just survive, they lead. They endure. They inspire. And their legacy lasts forever.